Tim Fedewa scores his second NASCAR Busch Series win, a dominating run in the First Union 200 at Nazareth. Highlights of that race and more next on NASCAR Race Week. Hi, welcome to NASCAR Race Week. Alan Bestwick in our Charlotte studios to take you back through NASCAR Touring Division action over the past week. Joining me to review the highlights and the results, Phil Parsons, driver of the Duraloop Chevy on the NASCAR Busch Series. Phil started 14th, finished just about there at Nazareth, 16th on Sunday. What happened?
Yeah, it wasn't a good day. We got involved. We had a little steering box problem. We'll talk about it a little bit later, and then we got involved in a wreck because of that. And I don't know, it just wasn't a good day. We'll forget this one.
Okay. We'll just forget about it and go on. We'll look at the highlights of the Nazareth race in a couple minutes with Phil. First, let's check some of the headlines of the week in NASCAR Touring Division racing, most of which center around the NASCAR Busch Series. Jeff Green is temporarily back on the Busch Series. He has been tabbed by the Washington Irving team to sub for Jimmy Foster in the Dr. Pepper Ford for a couple of races. He started at Nazareth last weekend. He'll do it again at Charlotte this coming weekend. Of course, Foster recovering from a broken foot he suffered in a crash during the Texas race early in the month of April. Jeff Green, a NASCAR Busch Series winner at Las Vegas 1 year ago with the Diamond Ridge team. His NASCAR Winston Cup effort shut down a couple of weeks ago, so he's on the sidelines. Going to pick up a couple of Busch Series rides for now. A new NASCAR Busch Series team will make its debut this weekend at Charlotte. Rich Bickle, the runner-up in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series from 1997, has formed a team with Florida businessman Eddie Smith, and they hope to debut in the CarQuest 300 this coming weekend. Bickle has built 3 NASCAR Busch Series machines and 1 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series effort. They'll run a limited number of races throughout the rest of the 1998 season. Of course, Bickle is currently subbing for Greg Sachs in Cale Yarborough Motorsports' Winston Cup car while Sachs recovers from injuries. Those are some of the headlines of the week in NASCAR Touring Division racing. When we come back, we'll jump into the highlights and review of the First Union 200 as the NASCAR Busch Series raced in Nazareth, Pennsylvania last Sunday.
NASCAR Race Week is brought to you by First Plus Financial. At First Plus, you don't need equity, you just need a phone.
Tim Fedewa rolls into victory lane at Nazareth Speedway last Sunday afternoon, his second career NASCAR Busch Series win. He took the First Union 200 on the 5-turn mile oval. Welcome back to NASCAR Race Week. Alan Bestwick with Phil Parsons to review that event for the NASCAR Busch Series now. We start with some of the numbers on the day. Our race summary shows us that we had 7 cautions for nearly a quarter of the 200-mile distance. 4 different drivers took turns out in front, and you see the margin of victory somewhat healthy for Tim Fedewa at the conclusion of the afternoon. Was a kind of an up-and-down day for the Base Motorsports team. Good day because Fedewa won. A bad day because Randy LaJoie, their other driver, the 2-time defending Busch Series champ, had a very rough afternoon. It ended just 6 laps into the event. This is LaJoie bouncing off the turn 4 wall.
Yeah, that's a pretty vicious hit there. You see all that, I mean, pretty much really early in the race, 22 gallons or thereabouts fuel on the racetrack. You can see Randy saying, hey, are these my championship hopes going up in smoke here? Almost literally. Fortunately not, but you can see how far the rear bumper is pushed up almost to the rear firewall of the thing. That's actually fuel cell foam, I think, hanging out from under the car. Yep. So very, very fortunate there wasn't a fire.
He dumped a lot of gasoline on the racetrack, but fortunately it did not ignite. The safety workers were on the scene very quickly to cover it up and clean it up. And Randy LaJoie, though, finishing 42nd on the day. That is a big blow to, again, the 2-time defending series champ. Dale Earnhardt Jr. started on the pole. Looked like he was going to be the man on the afternoon. He led the first 60 miles of the event, and at one point, Phil had actually built up a 6-second advantage. He was tough.
That's pretty incredible to have that kind of an advantage in the Busch Series right now. Here we've got a caution for debris. I think that's Mike McLaughlin waving to the other guys, hey, slow down. This is where the problem comes. I don't know if we're going to see that right now. Dale Earnhardt is in the pits, but he actually, the entrance to pit road is all the way back in turn 3, and he cut across the grass. He did not come in early enough and cut across the grass, so NASCAR relegated him to the back of the longest line, which is the lead lap line this early in the race. So that will certainly play a role in what happens to his day.
There you see his crew chief, Tony Uri, having a emphatic discussion with the NASCAR official.
Animated. I'd say it's animated.
There you go. Animated, emphatic, they'll all apply. But Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets back to 24th in line on that restart. We saw Ed Berrier in the shot there for a moment. He stayed on the racetrack at this point, and he takes over the race lead. This is at lap 61, this all came down. On the restart from that, Berrier takes off. Dick Trickle had just gotten lapped before the caution that brought everyone to pit road. He gets underneath Berrier and takes himself back onto the lead lap. Tim Fedewa is going to try and get Berrier for the race lead, but before he can finish the move, well, actually, he does get him here. All right, never mind. There's a spin. I knew it was coming at some point. Barney McRae, one of the Busch North Series drivers, spins, and you come down pit road at this point.
Yeah, a lot of people thought maybe we had some good strategy, but what happened was at the very start of the race, my power steering went out when I turned to the right. I could turn to the left and it would be okay. If I tried to turn right of center, then it was like I had no power steering, which is not like a street car with manual steering. But, you know, a lot of people at home have driven a car with power steering that went out, and they know how difficult that is to drive. Well, that's how my car was when I tried to turn to the right. Well, you say, well, we only turn left, but sometimes you get a little sideways. You need to turn back to the right to catch it, and I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have the feel to be able to do that, so, and it was also getting hard to steer to the left. So we decided to come in the pits, see if we were low on fluid or what, maybe the belt was, you know, loose or something like that. But when my crew chief, Gene Need, took the cap off the power steering reservoir, the fluid was boiling. So there was nothing we could do about that, and I've never even heard of that before. So we just put the cap back in, we went back out, and we're going to see in just a minute here what happens when we go back out.
We'll see right now. Lap 82, plenty of excitement. Nazareth, usually good for a big multi-car wreck on this back straightaway. We had it here.
I'm in that thing somewhere, unfortunately. But
the big lump up against the guardrail?
Yeah, you see Mike Dillon, you see Jeff Purvis in there. That's Joey McCarthy. That's me pulling away with not too bad a damage. You see somebody sees up here, it looked like the 50 car slowed down. You don't know if something happened in front of him. Kevin LePage in the 40 car slowed down. Mike Dillon, I think, was the first one to get tagged and turned around. I was on the outside. Had nowhere to go, got hit from behind, turned around. I didn't have a whole lot of damage, but just enough to mess my day up.
Here's a look from Kevin LePage's car. Boink. He gets bounced there.
Yeah, the 50 car slowed down. Yeah, 50 car slowed down. Kevin slowed down, got hit, but he was straight enough. He was able to keep on going. But I think Mike Dillon was the one behind him. He got hit harder, turned him around. And that's the bad thing about that turn, which is turn 2 and 3 at Nazareth, is there's just no room. It's blind for one thing. We actually, this is one of the only oval that we race on, other than sometimes at Talladega, they will actually have 2 spotters. You cannot see the whole racetrack from any one point on the race in the grandstands. So we actually have a spotter. We had that spotter right in that turn, but things happen so quick. It's a flat racetrack. It gets blocked so fast that's why it collected so many cars.
9 in all, including Jeff Purvis. We'll talk more about him in just a second, but those 9 cars involved in that accident at lap 82. Tim Fedewa was leading pretty big. Second spot's pretty exciting, though, as we move toward the three-quarter mark of the event. Mike McLaughlin's got the second spot. Buckshot Jones wants it, and he goes after it as they come to the end of the back straightaway here. They go down the back stretch now, and watch when he gets to turn number 3. A little emphatic, trying to get that position on the inside.
Yeah, he drove her down in there just a little bit too hard. Mike gave him room. It didn't look like he pinched him down or anything. And he just got in the corner just a little bit too hard. May have slid the rear wheels, and around he went. Fortunately, Mike got out of the way, and he took a pretty good lick on the left side into the wall.
Buckshot would finish 33rd on the afternoon. All the leaders pitted for the final time under this yellow, which kind of took fuel mileage out of the equation for the race.
Well, it really did. We had a lot of guys, us included, that could have made the distance because of the big wreck. We had to come in numerous times to beat out sheepmen on things, so we were going to be able to go the rest of the way. But obviously this caution threw that out of the window. Jeff Purvis was in the same boat. But what happened was that I flat spotted my tires in that wreck. I'm sure Jeff Purvis did the same thing, if not had some flats. So we actually put on our final set of tires. We're only allowed to change 2 sets of tires for the race. We both put on our last set of tires, so he didn't have any choice. If he could make it on fuel, he wasn't going to have any more tires, so he might as well stay out.
So Jeff Purvis takes over the race lead after all the other leaders pitted because, as Phil said, he didn't have any reason to come down pit road. He had fuel, he had tires. And Purvis builds up a 2.5-second lead once the green flag waves. But Tim Fedewa is chasing him down. Fedewa's trying to catch up with him. He takes about 25 laps to get from 2.5 seconds back to this point that we see now. right on the back deck of the Purvis car. And then two cars crash at the same time in different spots on the speedway. Mike Cope was in turn 3. We'll see this here.
Yeah, he just got he got up in a loose stuff a little bit high there, and then the thing just came around him. You don't get a whole lot of grip when you're up in the marbles, we call them, and he got into the wall a little bit. And as you said, there was an accident. I guess this is the accident right here. I think this is Shane Hall trying to get inside of a lap car, John Preston, and they get down. John Preston obviously doesn't see him there, and turns left, and Shane was already committed, and around they went. Shane had a good run going, and took him out of the lead lap and out of contention for a top 10 finish.
Shane gets away okay, but Preston is into the outside wall and would be done for the afternoon with some significant damage to that car. In the final laps, there was some good racing for top 5 spots. Matt Kenseth, in particular, had a strong car in the final going as he goes here around Joe Bessie for the 4th position, and pretty soon is trying to get 3rd away from Mike McLaughlin, but nobody had anything for Fedor.
No, he was really strong, really all weekend. To me, he qualified on the outside pole, ran well in every practice session. There's a good race right there for 3rd, but I think the checker flag just fell.
Yeah. But for Fedor, very, very strong. Accomplished a couple of things. First of all, broke a fairly lengthy winless streak for him, his 2nd NASCAR Busch Series win. And the other thing that was that the Busch Series has raced at Nazareth every year since 1988. No one had ever won more than once there. Tim becomes the first man to break that string. He is a 2-time Nazareth winner. Finish order from the First Union 200 on Sunday afternoon. There you see Purvis managed to hang on for the 2nd spot. Glenn Allen came back from a lap down to claim the 9th position, so good run there. By the way, Purvis started 27th to get 2nd. You see Allen back in 9th after starting and getting a lap down. Dick Trickle also was a lap down. We saw him get his lap back in the highlights. He came back for the 12th position. Now let's talk about Ron Hornaday for a minute. Qualified 2nd fastest, his time was disallowed because of a problem with the car's fuel.
Yeah, this is one of the racetracks that we go to that Unocal does not furnish the fuel for free, in other words. They had fuel there readily available for all the competitors, but you do have the option of bringing your own fuel, but it has to be comparable to Union fuel. We only run Union fuel, so obviously our stuff's okay, but the other team, the Hornaday's team, decided to bring a different kind of fuel, and NASCAR judged it to not be comparable to Unocal fuel, so they disallowed his qualifying time, and he had to start at the back of the field.
Started 43rd, wound up finishing 23rd after being involved in one of those little skirmishes, so Hornaday had a long way to go to get there. Let's check the championship standings now. Mike McLaughlin and Matt Kenseth racing for that 3rd position at the finish of Sunday's race. McLaughlin won out, so he gets 5 more points, and his lead goes from all of 5 to all of 10. The big loser on the day was Earnhardt Jr. He was only 30 points back at the start of the day. He is 111 down now after 11 races. And you look at the rest of the top 10 in the NASCAR Busch Series championship standings after the Nazareth event. Charlotte is up this coming weekend. Now, one other thing to talk about from Sunday's race, that was a combination race for the Busch Series and also the NASCAR Busch North Series. And the way that that works is that the Busch North drivers can enter these combination events, and in whatever finish they get out of it, if it's better than one of their finishes in the standalone Busch Series events, at the end of the year, they can drop the bad result and plug it in. So that's what those drivers were racing for on Sunday. There were a number of them in the field. You could probably expect Ted Christopher will plug that 10th spot in later on at the end of the year. He did a good job Sunday.
He really did. Had a good car. Teddy Marsh and all the guys prepared a great car for him. Ran well the whole race and came away with a top 10 finish, which is pretty difficult with a situation that those guys don't run on radials very often. Teddy also ran it loud last week, but they did a great job, again, with so little experience on the radial tires.
Phil, good luck at Charlotte this coming Saturday. Track you've won at not too long ago.
No, we always seem to run well at Charlotte, so we're really looking forward to it. We've got a great car, a car that we actually ran there last fall and had a good top 5 going before we were taken out in a little bit of a skirmish, taken out of contention anyway, so we can't wait to get back.
All right, Phil, thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks.
Phil Parsons with us, driver of the Duraloop Chevrolet at Charlotte Saturday for the 300-miler for the NASCAR Busch Series. Back with our Spotlight segment next on NASCAR Race Week. Welcome back to NASCAR Race Week. Our spotlight this week is on a two-time NASCAR Race Northwest Series champion who's branching out and enjoying a little success on the Winston West Series this year. We meet Washington State native Kelly Tanner now.
Like most race drivers, Kelly Tanner got hooked on the sport at an early age. But you might be surprised to learn that this 35-year-old has been racing for 31 years.
Actually, one day when I was 4 years old, my father and I were driving in the town. We lived in Renton. Saw some little quarter midgets going around a racetrack, which was built within a nursery. And we stopped, and some folks were kind enough to allow me to drive the race car. And, of course, my first lap, I went up on the tires, and that was my first debut in a race car at 4 years old.
It didn't take long for Tanner to realize that racing was going to be more than just a hobby. He progressed through the ranks at Saturday night short tracks near his hometown of Woodinville, Washington, eventually winning NASCAR's Northwest Series championship in 1996 and 97.
Basically, I raced at Evergreen Speedway in mini stocks, and NASCAR was getting bigger and bigger on the West Coast. And clear back to when I was a young boy watching Richard Petty, back then Daytona was one of the only races televised, I decided I wanted to race NASCAR, at least try it. And I'm one of those, one step at a time. And so now we're in the NASCAR Winston West Series, and we're having a lot of fun.
Still, going from Northwest champion to Winston West rookie is no easy transition, but it's a challenge Tanner welcomes.
I'm kind of one of those people that if you put a carrot out there or say I can't do it, then I like to prove you wrong, and that's been my success in not only racing but in business also.
Tanner has proved that he's capable of making that transition with a 6th place finish at his first Winston West race and 3 top 10s in the 5 races so far in 1998, including 3rd place last week on the road course at Heartland Park in Kansas.
I think auto racing, pretty much whether you're on the bull rings or on the speedways, once you get going, it's all relevant. It's just the learning curve here because of the speed you're going. It takes quite a bit longer than going to a short track. You can go to a brand new short track for your first time and do pretty good right off the trailer. Here, it's a learning curve, and we had good advice from some of the Winston Cup racers saying just take your time, get up to speed, and make it a great day, and that's what we're looking forward here.
Before his first super speedway race at California earlier this month, Tanner said fitting in during his rookie season would be at least as important as winning races.
My whole goal this year was to come to California, which is a 2-mile racetrack, which I've never done before, and get comfortable with the faster speeds, and then we'll go back to short track racing, which will be much more to my forte right now as I learn these other racetracks. And then next year, I think, with a little bit of luck, we'll campaign to make a championship effort, but that's not in our mind right now. In our mind right now is to come into Winston West, make friends, race clean, and have a great time.
Tanner notched a good finish in the NASCAR Winston West race this past Sunday on the road course in Topeka, Kansas. We'll look at that race plus all the other NASCAR Touring Division action in just a moment. Our Race Week wrap-up when we come back.
This driver won the Champion Spark Plug 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 28, 1994, driving the number 29 Matchbox White Rose Chevrolet. It was his 2nd career Busch Series victory. Can you name him? The winner of the Champion Spark Plug 300 at Charlotte in May of 1994 was Phil Parsons. It was his 2nd victory in the Busch Series and his 1st since 1982.
Our Race Week wrap-up charges around the United States from East Wenatchee, Washington to Topeka, Kansas to Nazareth, Pennsylvania. We start with the Featherlight Modified Series on the 5-turn mile there. Here's Kim Novak.
Mike Stefanik took the lead right from the start in the first Union 100 on Sunday after starting from the outside pole. In fact, Stefanik, who was the defending race champion, led the first 48 laps until Bud Pole winner Tim Connolly took the top spot. 2 laps later, the caution flag flew on lap 50, which brought the leaders onto pit road. After the restart, it was Jamie Tomeno in car 99 leading from the point, with Eddie Flimke close behind. The roles reversed by lap 77 with Flimke leading and Tomeno right behind. By lap 85, Stefanik in car 6 had fought his way back to 2nd after the earlier stops. On lap 90, Stefanik regained control of the lead from Flimke and would hold on to it to take the checkers for his 3rd win in just 5 races. But he's not taking anything for granted.
Everything goes in circles. I'm riding, surfing that nice wave, and I hate to see it crash into the shore, but it's going to someday, and I'll have to swim out and find another one. And that's just how I look at it. When it's your turn, it's your turn, and luck and skill and everything else. It all comes together, but it never lasts forever. And sometimes you lose it, and then you got to go back and get it. And you know, I expect that to happen sometime, but I'm enjoying this why it's happening.
Tom Baldwin got by Flimke in the closing laps for second, and Dan Avery and Jamie Tomeno round out the top 5. Stefanik adds to his point lead in the championship standings. The Featherlight Modified Series race again this weekend at Stafford Springs. In the Winston West Series, Sean Woodside went to victory lane at Heartland Park, Topeka. He took the lead with just 2 laps to go from Kevin Richards.
Great win. You know, you got to have a good car, and the Golden West team definitely prepares a great car. We finished every lap of the 5 races this year, and we're just in the right place at the right time. Kevin and the 85 car got together and ended up winning the deal. So great coming to Topeka.
Kelly Tanner came home 3rd behind Woodside and Richards, with Kevin Harvick and Scott Gaylord finishing 4th and 5th. Now with 1 win apiece, Harvick leads Woodside in the points by just 41 markers. The series races again this Sunday at Mesa Marin.
Now off to Washington State, East Wenatchee, Washington, the NASCAR Ray Bestis Northwest Series race from Saturday night. Gary Lewis hitting 750 this season, scored his 3rd win in 4 races, taking the 125-lapper there on Saturday. He led the final 47 laps of the race for the win. Championship standings, naturally Lewis is the leader, up 126 on Pete Harding after 4 of 16 races. Busy Memorial Weekend in NASCAR Touring Division competition this weekend. All the schedules and calendars and updates for you when NASCAR Race Week returns.
Hey, NASCAR Race Week fans, this is your chance to nominate your local NASCAR Racetrack Star of the Week. Send us a photo along with the name and reason why your local driver should be our Star of the Week. Maybe they have several track championships, won 5 events in a row, or perhaps they just won their first race ever. And for helping us show off your local talent, we'll send you this NASCAR 50th anniversary shirt and cap from Chase Authentics. The authentic trackside apparel of NASCAR is now available at NASCAR specialty stores and leading department stores everywhere. Send the photo and information to NASCAR Race Week. Post Office Box 240-417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224.
Memorial Weekend always huge in racing around the United States. It will be that way this weekend. The calendar, we start Friday night with a number of events. Slim Jim All-Pro Series, Odessa, Missouri. Stafford, Connecticut for the Featherlight Modified Series. And the REMAX Challenge Series is in Madison, Wisconsin. Saturday, the Busch Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The Truck Series at I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri. 3 races over the weekend for the Busch All-Stars. The first of them Saturday in Corning, Iowa. Also on Saturday, the Southwest Series, Bakersfield, California, and Holland, New York for the Busch North Series. Elsewhere this weekend, Sunday, Omaha, Nebraska for the Busch All-Star Series, Winston West at Bakersfield on Sunday, and a pair of races on Monday, the REMAX Challenge Series in Kaukauna, Wisconsin, and West Liberty, Iowa for the Busch All-Star Series. Next week, we wrap up all of those races here on NASCAR Race Week. Highlights and results. Hope you'll look us up then. I'm Alan Bestwick. We'll see you next week.